Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me and welcome to the 2021 Auto Italia British Giulietta TCR Championship. I hope you all had a very good Christmas and winter break. But now we have returned to virtual racing, which I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing. The new season awaits 15 drivers who have signed up this season, making a change, and they both will run a Pro and Am series parallel to each other over the 30 races lined up for this season. So just to go through the list of competitors that we have so far, in no particular order, we have Alan Matthews in car 82, Andrew Cracker in car 73, Andrew Whitehead in car 40, Ben beg your pardon if I get this wrong, Sharich in car 81, Colin Knief in car 01, Vinnie Swarbrick in car 66, Greg Young in car 31, Guy Swarbrick in car 27, Luke Wiggins in car 44, Matt Daly in car 63, Carl Alden, new to the championship I believe, in car 19, Paul Millman in car 69, Paul Plant in car 24, familiar name there. Car 07 is Rob Whitney, and car 56 is Stephen Knight. So, big one. Qualifying has already started. It sees us at the 1.8 mile Castle Combe circuit in Wiltshire. And of course, two gentlemen currently running around in circles at the moment. The format for tonight sees us running two races, so we have a approximately 20-minute qualifying session that they're in at the moment. That will sort out the grid for race 1, and then for race 2 will be a reverse of the finishing positions of race 1. So the cars they're using for this championship, my notes, don't look at that, are the TCR Giuliettas with approximately 340 brake horsepower and 440 Newton meters. So quite a lot of power in a very small setup car. So as you can see, with only a few minutes of the qualifying depleted, Andrew Cracker has taken a provisional pole. But we all know they still need to get a bit warmed up. Not sure how much practice everyone has done before the inaugural race, but I think Castle Combe's new to the season. But anyway, we have a lot of time still left to run to see if anyone can beat that time. Some very fast names in the grids. Paul Plant still yet to set a time. Alan Matthews, I think he's back in the pit, did set time, bring him up into 4th. Whitney there currently in traffic. The Halfords livery it's not too short. Halfords livery is Colin Keith. Actually, I think with the Halfords livery car behind him. Andrew Whitehead. Using all the track that you can, very narrow circuit. As I said, that Colin Knief setting a personal best in sectors 2 and 3, bringing him up to 2nd place. So 0.3 of a second behind Mr. Cracker. So despite, I think there's probably quicker time in there because he's was held up by traffic a little bit. And I think has another car in front of him at the moment, but already setting a personal best time in sector 1. So I think if he can get some clear air, that will give him quite a chance to get up where he ideally wants to be. And unfortunately off the circuit there, just returning to the pits. Open setup now for this season as well, so whereas last season setups were decided by I think a couple of the drivers, or set for the drivers, and then all you had to use the same one with I think tyre pressures being something they could change and the fuel load. But now I think the setups are completely open. Whether that has an effect on whether people can get the best out of their cars or not, we shall see. We need to see how that actually affects the result. Matt Daly there, as we watch him go across the start-finish line. 3 personal best sectors, setting a time of 1 minute 5.048 to the provisional bowl. 0.3 ahead, 0.35. Who unfortunately collides with another car, so he'll that lap will be null and void, and he'll have to try again. Stephen Knight, unfortunately, in a little bump with. I'll have to get out of the way. Paul Plant's coming through a little bit quicker, but we have the entrance to Pit Road. It's just taking to the moment. So Castle Combe being very narrow. I mean, they're only small cars ideally, but a very narrow circuit to race around, very fast, very flat. And once you're on the grass, you're going to be losing momentum and overall grip, aren't you? But 2 rather heavy braking points, 2 chicanes to deal with. Quarry Corner, again, arguably one of the quite a fast sweeping right-hander for them. So it could pose some challenges. It's been known to be a challenging circuit for some people. So currently Matt Daly in provisional pole. Colin Knief there using as much of the runoff as he can muster. Looks like again they're being held up with traffic from, who's that in front of him? Again, Greg Young making slight collision with Stephen Knight. It is a great shame. There's also another collision on the second class corner. Carl Alden and Stephen Knight is off the road, someone else. So people struggling to find clear air with Whitney also making himself stationary just in the middle of the chicanes. So yes, quite difficult to get round traffic by the looks of it. Just shows you how narrow it is and make it very interesting for the actual battles we may see open up. Of course, we've got Pro and Ams running at the same time, so could open up with a gap in pace between said Pro and Am drivers. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, all just speculation at the moment. So as we see Finley Swarbrick just come across the start-finish line, doesn't improve on his position as of yet. Does get past the traffic in front of him. As he comes up to the Avon Rising Quarry Corner, you can see the delivery that was Paul Millman. There we are. Again, a new name for me for the season. Just running a little bit wide, but yes, quite a striking livery with the pink and the blue sections of the track. Guys, Swarbrick again coming around Quarry Corner as well, by the looks of it. And then into the S's. So currently Matt Daly has taken provisional pole, again dealing with traffic a little bit around him. So it looks like Stephen Knight has leapfrogging a moment, so whether Matt Daly has decided to write off this lap, try again on the next one. Ten minutes of qualifying remaining. The grid being rather unchanged at the moment. Normally we see a lot more movement of people improving on their times, but at the moment we have on the front row Matt Daly and 0.07 seconds behind him, Colin Leaf on the front row. But again, a lot of traffic around everyone. Not a lot of clear air for people to put in their fastest times. It's a very small circuit. People as well. As we have Alan Matthews again just building up speed. Vinny Swarbrick behind him, just getting a bit close to him. Whether we'll let him pass or not, it could actually help Finley with having a bit of slipstream, bit of a tow. Again, I think both trying to put in a hot lap, but and not quite getting up to speed quite yet. The cart's just run a little bit wide at Quarries. Again, Alan not quite putting in a unfortunately running wide of that corner, and once you're on the grass, that's pretty much it for your qualifying run. Rejoins very safely. Andrew Cracker currently on second row. Again, looking for improvement. So what do we have? We have the top six, all within a second of each other. I think the faster corners, Power and Quarry, possibly catching out the drivers a little bit. It looks like, not too sure what catching up what speed they need to run the corner for an efficient time. Of course, it being so flat, it's going to make it very hard to see how quickly the corner is coming up. So we have Paul Millman, unfortunately, making contact with the barriers. So not many more chances for him to improve on his time. Quite a lot few others in the pits, possibly making setup changes as they can. So Colin Caniff in car 01. Currently in first place, or provisional pole place, should I say, for the current race. Who's leapfrogged Matt Daly, who is 0.038 behind him, but again putting in a personal best third sector. So the mid sector then he's improving a little bit for Matt Daly, and then we'll hopefully try and challenge for provisional pole again. So I think that's going to be quite decisive for getting a good getaway from the line, managing to stay out of trouble, being as far up as you can. They're held up a little bit by who is not too sure. Alan Matthews in car 82. Daly putting in a solid first sector, and again slightly slower in the second. So something's catching him out a little bit at the moment. I'm just trying to get the temperature in the car up to where it needs to be. There's a car stationary on the inside. That was very cutting the corner a little bit, carrying a lot of speed. But unfortunately doesn't improve on his time. Alan Matthews just returning to the pit. Guys, currently in 10th, just returning to the circuit safely as he can. So, with just over 5 minutes to go, there's a slight change in the middle by the looks of it. So again, all within a decent amount of time. All competitors roughly within 3 or 4 seconds of the leader, which is a good amount to have. Paul Plant, unfortunately, just being caught out. But hopefully to stay away, out of the way of Finley Swarbrick coming through on a hot lap by the looks of it. And you'll have Andrew Whitehead behind him as well. I think that looks like Old Paddock Bend, I think it was, that he'd come off. And it's now turning into Tower Corner. Paul Plant just trying to bring up speed, but just coming across the front of Andrew Whitehead there on a hot lap by the looks of it, Andrew. So we have Finley Swarbrick coming across the line first. I think it was on an out lap, so I wasn't actually setting a time yet. Andrew Whitehead unfortunately looks like he was held up a little bit, so costing a bit of time there. Again, more traffic to contend with for everyone. Colin Keneath has improved on his time even more now. Has improved his time within 1 minute 5 seconds now. So showing his hand, setting a very good, very fast pace for everyone to follow. Matt Daly again looks like he was held up by traffic there, so we'll struggle to get a good time at the moment. We have Rob Whitney just stationary at somewhere in the circuit. Can't quite tell where that is, but he's returned to the pits. And right now, can Matt Daly improve on his time? No, he wasn't actually. It was out that by the looks of it. So he will be on a fast lap at the moment. Hopefully the gap between him and Alan Matthews ahead of him should be far enough that will impede his progress. Otherwise that could be quite costly to his time. Personal best sector for Sector 1, sliding out of the S's there. Right-hander of Old Paddock Bend. Again, the toe from Alan Matthews could be quite handy for him now. And then slowing through Tower Corner there. Will Matt Daly get held up coming out of Bobby's chicane? Looks like he might. Will that affect his time? And he's decided to call the lap, so he will have to try again for trying to leave some space there, but I think Matthews a bit wide there. Not too sure what's going on. He was running wide since Westway, I think, so something had him off guard. Just over 2 minutes of qualifying remaining for Matt Daly to try and take back pole position. Personal best time in Sector 1. Takes the left-hander off, hammered down into Tower Corner. Nicely clipping the inside edge. Through the chicane of Bobby's. Running a little bit wide, that should still count the lap. Gets a good exit, no one in his way to impede his progress so far. Turns into the final corner. Cuts the corner quite a bit actually out of that one, so that might not count, and indeed it counts but doesn't improve on his time. I'm not sure where the track limits are necessarily for something like this, because again, you saw Matt Daly's wheels, the left-hand side of the car coming completely over the white line onto the rumble strip, so I'm not too sure where the actual boundaries are for the circuit, but I guess that lap did count. Colin Keneath, I think, running Colin Knief. Who was that? Guy Swarbrick, sorry, running wide out of the way of Matt Daly. 36 seconds remaining on qualifying. Will Matt Daly get a chance to complete another lap, or will it be Colin Knief for pole position? Looks like he will, with such a small circuit, he will get round. So, one more try for Matt Daly to try and snatch pole position. Also have Matthews and Andrew Cracker that may get a chance. Andrew Cracker put in his personal best in sector 2. He will not get a chance at another lap. That will be his final result, and he has to settle for provisional 4th. This may still change. There's still a few people to run across the line. Matt Daly again, but unfortunately runs wide on the grass coming out of the S's, and that will cost him a considerable amount of time, so I very much doubt he'll be able to get provisional pole from that. But we'll continue with him round the rest of the lap, and it looks like he may have called it, because that's definitely not as quick as he would be if he was on a hot lap. So and he does indeed pull into the pits. A few people still left to run across the line, but they are currently Colin Knief with provisional pole position. Matthews just coming across the line. Looks like we'll take the front row. So yes, we will get the server reset for everyone, and yeah, just give us a few ticks and we'll begin race 1. welcome back. So, we have the qualifying positions decided. So currently we have on row 1 Colin Caniff and Matt Daly. Row 2 is Alan Matthews and Andrew Cracker. Row 3 is Andrew Whitehead, and someone is actually missing from the order there, still needs to load in. Row 4 is Greg Young and Finley Swarbrick. Row 5 is Paul Millman and Rob Whitney. Row 6, if it would do it in the right order. Paul Plant we have, that was on row 3, has loaded in. So we had and at the back of the grid, Guy Swarbrick, Carl Alden in position 12 and Stephen Knight in position 13th. A slightly strange way it's decided to show me, but there we are. There is your grid for this evening. 2 minutes remaining on the clock for the start of the race. 25-minute race for race 1. Plus a lap from the leader once the countdown reaches 0. Looks like Paul Plant's had a connection issue, unfortunately. It's disconnected for the moment. So hopefully with 14 seconds remaining on the clock before the beginning of the race, we can get Paul Plant back on the grid. It'd be a great shame to have him miss the first one of the season, although there are drop scores but count for these sorts of things. He does seem to be back for the moment. 20 seconds remaining till the beginning of the race. So we will soon see the lights appear on the gantry. Nice big open camera to see all the action. Let's say 6 red lights on the gantry. They all light up. And they go out and away we go. So a good start from everyone. As said, very narrow track. We've got people vying for position already. Colin Caniff and Matt Daly have had a very good start from the front of the grid. Looks like 3 wide at the back going into the first corner. Everyone nice and easy on the brakes as changes in the back of the grid. Everyone seems to have made it through without challenges. I say that Rob Whitney and Paul Millman side by side. Everyone filtering through the first chicane. There's a contact at the back who has ended up on the... Greg Young has ended up worse off. Guy Swarbrick as well was on the grass, as well as Stephen Knight. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact coming through the S's of Castle Combe, but they have all got away again. All single file. Colin Caniff with a fantastic start now, leading from the front as they come round to complete the first lap. As we see, oh, who was that running very wide? Alan Matthews running wide and the start finish straight on the grass, so he'll lose a lot of pace, and we'll have Andrew Cracker possibly bleeding down his neck coming into the Avon Rise. Under braking, he's getting closer. Will try and challenge for the inside, cutting across the apex. He'll be trying to. We also have someone else running a bit wide, I think, from across the grass. No, everyone seems to have made it through fairly well. Greg Young's battling for position with Guy Swarbrick. 4 Pacers, 3-car battle now for 3rd position. Who's that running wide? Carl Alden running wide through, I think, the hammer down, possibly. Losing a bit of pace. Rob Whitney battling for 7th with Paul Millman. Stephen Knight, I think, looking up the inside of Carl Alden's car. But at the front of the race, Colin Keneath setting personal best time, as is Matt Daly, and everyone will from the beginning of the race. Andrew Whitehead looking for position over Andrew Cracker. He is up alongside. I do believe there is a contact between the two. Can Andrew Whitehead get it done under braking? He can. Tries to cut off Andrew Cracker, and he does indeed, coming out of Quarry Corner. Can he defend from the braking zone of the S's? He can indeed, and starts to eke out slight gap, but runs a little bit wide, sliding the back of the car around, but holds onto it, and will now have Alan Matthews in his sights. So as I said, 3 cars vying for 3rd position on the podium. But as it stands, Colin Keneath running away, and now opening up 1.3 second gap over Matt Daly. Who are both just, again, opening up the gap even more over their nearest competitors. So I think, who is that? There's a battle between, there's things going on. 3-car battle for 9th. Stephen Knight currently was a bit squiggly coming out of Bobby's chicane, but he's trying to defend, but there's contact between him and I think that was no, it wasn't Guy Swarbrick. Who was that that's now hit the barriers? So that was Carl Alden, unfortunately, who may have made contact with Stephen Knight, and that's allowed Guy Swarbrick through to clear them as well. So a great shame that's on Carl's, I believe, inaugural race as well. That's a great shame that's happened. Paul Plant, not sure what happened to Paul. He's actually back at 12th position, which is not normal for him to be in. We also seem to have lost some cars along the way. But at the front of the grid now, coming up to lap 4, Colin Keneath leads Matt Daly 1.3 seconds. Alan Matthews under pressure from Andrew Whitehead for 3rd position. Andrew eyeing up the car in front, trying to find the best time to do it. Andrew Cracker, I think, trying to close in on the cars in front, runs very wide and deep into the braking zone, but doesn't touch the grass and does get to continue on fairly well. Andrew Whitehead looking to get the undercut done at the S's chicane. They're side by side coming through Old Paddock Bend, but Andrew Whitehead can't do it. Nearly gets his nose chopped off and forced into the grass there, but managed to keep it on the black stuff to fall in behind Alan Matthews. But you can see how much Andrew Whitehead wants that position early on in the race to try and control that position and get away from try and close in on the cars in front. Paul Plant there just has been passed by Cole Alden, so I'm not too sure what happened there, but Paul Plant not getting on too well with the circuit this evening, unfortunately. Normally a very, very quick driver contending for the higher up places, but as can happen occasionally, you just don't gel with the track too well. It can cause problems for you. Andrew Whitehead up aside Alan Matthews and gets the job done coming into the S's, and does start to eke out a lead very quickly over Alan Matthews, who is now under pressure from Andrew Cracker as well. Can Andrew get through? He does get up the inside, elbows out through Tower Corner, I believe that is, and gets away very cleanly, and again starts to open up gap between the 5th place Alan Matthews now. So Alan Matthews, very good job to defend as much as he could, but ultimately was passed by the two arguably quicker drivers. Although Alan, not content with the 5th place, is looking to still in touch with Andrew Cracker, possibly looking to claim that position back. Andrew Cracker we have seen run wide on a couple of occasions, and he's having to defend quite hard now, I think, from Alan Matthews. Finley Swarbrick trying to do his best to catch up to the battling cars in front. Paul Plant getting past Carl Alden there. So it looks like Carl getting up to speed. Greg Young, unfortunately, slowed quite dramatically. It looks like he was joining the circuit after an isolated incident, I would have thought, on his own. It didn't look like there was anyone around him. Paul Plant just... Stephen Knight trying to defend his position, but Paul Plant getting better up the inside. But unfortunately spinning at the centre of the S's, and unfortunately collides with Stephen Knight and sends them both into the barriers. So great shame again. It looks like Paul Plant struggling with the circuit as it is. Unfortunately, the back end just slightly unsafe rejoin there, nearly colliding with Stephen Knight again. That could have been done better, to be honest. Stephen had just got in front enough that wasn't an issue. But I think the stewards might be a little bit unhappy with that behaviour. Again, Paul Plant trying to get round, but just struggling, and I think just not having a great race this evening for Paul. At front of the grid, Colin Knief on lap 7. Matt Daly just maintaining that 1.3 second gap behind him. He knows there's a long race. He knows that, I think Matt Daly knows that quite quickly, actually, traffic will be a factor now. As we see Colin running a little bit wide, I would have said, coming through Quarry Corner, but now coming up to the back of Stephen Knight. Stephen Knight this far back, unfortunately, due to his incident with Paul Plant. Stephen Knight has seen the blue flags and moves out of the way, but that has allowed Matt Daly to close the gap. So Matt Daly's yellow bumper now right under the rear wing of Colin Knief. You can see the rear wheel just locking up completely as it turns to a tripod momentarily there. As they both sweep through Bobby's chicane. Come up to the start finish line. Matt Daly 0.4 seconds behind him, will be in the slipstream of Colin Knief. But can he do anything about it? Will he want to do anything about it at this point in the race with still 15 minutes to go? Doesn't want to show his hand yet. But Colin Knief very much with a control of this race so far. But it can just shows you how much of a small track there is. Very fast track. So we do have a fair bit of traffic for them to contend. The gap roughly 0.6 now, so opening up slightly, although Matt Daly taking a slightly tighter line through the S's, trying to keep that gap as close as he can. Andrew Whitehead almost 10 seconds down the road now between them. Again, we'll also be coming up to Stephen Knight to lap him as well. Carl just coming across the start-finish straight, and so I would imagine that they would catch up with Carl as well, but we shall have to see on that one. So the gap now approximately half a second, 0.4 of a second between Colin Knief and Matt Daly battling for first place. Can see how much closer Matt can get through the braking zone in Quarry Corner. Will he look to make a move through the S's? Doesn't yet. Keeps it tight. Keeps the pressure on as much as he can. Colin Knief taking a tight line through Old Paddock Bend. Carrying a bit more speed by the looks of it. Again, rear wheel locking up there as it's dangled in the air. So possibly maybe a slightly softer suspension setup for Colin. Not too sure. It doesn't look too much of a bumpy circuit this evening at Castle Combe. Very open, susceptible to wind, I would imagine. Further down the grid, Andrew Whitehead, 11.6 seconds behind Andrew Crackett in 4th, Alan Matthews in 5th, also coming up to the back of Stephen Knight. Vinnie Swarbrick in 6th, Paul Millman in 7th. Good position for his inaugural race. The battle for 8th position between Greg Young and Rob Whitney. So Greg Young climbing his way back up the order after a incident at the S's on the first lap. So the gap roughly the same with the lead battle. Greg Young looking up the inside. Doesn't look like he has quite enough pace. Can he get him under the braking zone? Closes the gap, locks up the brakes, trying not to hit the back of Rob Whitney, but Rob Whitney ran a bit deep into the corner, so that's opened the door for Greg. Can he get alongside him as they into the braking zone for the S's? He can indeed, and gets a manoeuvre done and exits the corner very cleanly. So Greg Young now up into 8th and already starts to open up the gap to Rob Whitney, so very well timed manoeuvre for him. Guy Swarbrick down in 10th. You can see running a little bit wide with Carl Alden. Looks like he's trying to close the gap on him as well. So it could be an interesting battle between the two at the front of the grid. That gap just maintains between the two, Colin Keneath and Matt Daly. So Matt Daly, I think, just biding his time, not wishing to rush a manoeuvre yet. They will actually be coming up to the battle for 10th fairly soon. But we will have Carl Alden getting quite a bit closer to Guy Swarbrick already. But again, we have they will start to have the blue flags waved at them to move out the way for the leaders on lap 13. Guy Swarbrick running a little bit wide, Carl running a little bit narrow into the corner. But could this be a decisive time for Matt Daly to take first position? Little slight nudge between Colin Keneath and Carl Alden keeps the car on the straight and narrow. Matt Daly just behind him, so it's really closed up the gaps. Guy Swarbrick just in front of them now, so that's one car. One traffic moved out the way. Guy quite rightly taking his line through the chicane, but moves out the way on the exit and allows two cars past. So that doesn't give an advantage to Matt, or does it? He has the slipstream. He's looking up the inside of Camp Corner. Colin Keneath giving him enough space, just not to hit him, but carries enough speed that Matt Daly has to cut in behind him. Will Matt Daly look to do anything under the braking zone as they go through Avon Rise into Quarry Corner? Gap still maintained. Matt Daly taking a slight cutting inside line, just trying to get up the side. Colin Keneath's car, can he do it in time to get a good position for the chicane? He can. They've still side by side through the S's. Very well done between the two. Matt Daly does take first position from Colin Keneath on lap 14 with just over 10 minutes to go. Guy Swarbrick there with a front row seat to the battle, but Colin Keneath, can he get running outside manoeuvre? We've not seen done as of yet. Matt Daly defending hard from Colin Keneath. So it looks like Colin's got a few more tricks up his sleeves to try and get round, but Matt Daly, I think, just needs to put his head down, try and get away from the Halfords Giulietta as much as he can, but the gap is closer between Colin than it was originally. They're side by side again going through I think Avon Rise. Matt Daly, I think, knows he's there, leaving him enough space, heavy on the brakes. Colin Keneath Again, I think that was one of his weaker corners. Not to say that any of his corners are weak, he's showed very, very quick pace the entire evening. But indeed, now Matt Daly just forces a bit of breathing space between the two cars. 0.4 of a second, which Matt will be very familiar with maintaining behind Colin. Both going through Bobby's chicane on to Westway and down to Camp Corner to start lap 16 of the race. Bumping over the curves, I think Matt loses a little bit of a pace through that corner. Taking a tighter line, trying to carry as much as he can. Colin Knief right behind him under his rear wing and tries to get up beside him, but again he's not going to be in a good position to under the brakes, and again he can't quite get the job done. Matt Daly showing he's better under brakes there. Carl Holden beside Guy Swarbrick in almost mirror fashion. Can't get the move done, but can he get it done under braking for the S's? He can't. Guy cuts him off and they continue as they were. Andrew Whitehead will soon again come up to these two cars as well. Very nearly contact between Matt Daly and Colin Knief as they go through Tower Corners. We'll have the chicane of Bobby's. I think Matt Daly equally trying to avoid that as much as Colin Knief was, but you see the smoke from the Colin locking up. So again, you can see where Colin is stronger around the circuit, but not quite enough that he can get around. He's a little bit further away this time, heading up to Avon Right. Where is the next lot of traffic going to be? Are they going to reach? So we have. Who's that slow at the back? Not too sure who that was. We did have a slow car. That was indeed Paul Plant. So Paul Plant running very slow, but returning to the race after, I think, unintentionally enough. It was on the screen for quite a while, but now has returned to continue the race. So the gap 0.5 a second as they are coming up to the next traffic car, Rob Whitney in 9th place. So Matt will be looking to get this done as clean as possible because you can see what happens as they come through Camp Corner along the start finish straight. Matt Daly gets past him very cleanly. Almost worked out perfectly for him. Didn't cause him to slow pace at all. As they both spot their braking zone for Quarry Corner. Colin Knief getting a lot closer on that occasion as we cross the 5-minute mark to the end of the race. Colin Knief trying to carry as much speed as he can through S's, but has lost a bit of pace on the exit. So the gap now 0.6 of a second, increasing slightly. So Matt really just needs to keep his head down and focus on hitting the apexes as quickly as he can. So they have ticked off Rob Whitney. The next Greg Young in 8th place. Next lot of traffic for them, and then a few cars, Mr. Millman and Finley Swarbrick ahead of them. I think that was, who was that moving out the way? That was Greg Young at the back. Colin Knief looked like he was looking to make a manoeuvre on Matt Daly, but not as of yet, still very close. Again, Colin Knief losing pace through the S's. Ever so slightly as the car is sliding, the rear end is sliding from him in the middle of that chicane, a bus stop if you will. We get now 0.3 of a second, 0.392 of a second between the two. Colin Knief possibly eyeing up another challenge for position. Where is the traffic ahead of him? Looks to be Stephen Knight again, unfortunately. Will look to be 2 laps behind Greg Young, running a bit wide through Quarry Corner. So there are 2 cars to contend with. This will be a bit of a bit more of a challenge now for Matt to get round him. The potentially slightly inexperienced Stephen Knight having to deal with the blue flags yet again. But they can run the normal line. He does quite see them. There's a bit of inaccuracy between where Stephen, a bit of guesswork between where Stephen was going to go there, but they do both. Our leaders managed to get around him very quickly. So that could potentially have ended up disastrous, but they both managed to get around him through the hammer down corner, and now on the back of Greg Young's car, who will have the blue flags in his face at the moment. Not quite an ideal place for Matt Daly to get around him. That will be in the braking zone of Avon Rise Quarry Corner. So we have the slight left-hander. They both spot the braking line. Greg Young getting out the way very, very well there of the 2 leaders, and they get through very cleanly, and doesn't affect the result of the race at all. Get now 0.5 a second. Again, they will be coming up to the back of another lapped traffic car. Andrew Whitehead currently is first, slightly in no man's land. And everyone roughly running their races as they are. Stephen Knight and Paul Plant. Paul Plant, unfortunately, having another spin coming out of the S's. Again, not enjoying tonight's race at all for him, which is a great shame. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back for the next coming races as our leaders come up to the back of Paul Millman in the number 69 car. Paul, again a newcomer, will he adhere to the blue flags, move out the way as quickly as cleanly? He takes his normal racing line, runs a little bit wide at Quarry Corner. Will he allow Matt Daly comes up beside him to get past? He does move out the way at the entrance to the chicane and allows Matt and Colin through unscathed. So almost half of the grid now a lap down from our leaders. 8 seconds remaining on the clock. So this will be the penultimate lap. And then when they come across the start-finish line, that will begin the final lap of the race. And the final chance for Colin Knief to reclaim that top spot of the podium. Coming into the braking zone of Quarry Corner. They both spot the braking zones of smoke coming off Colin's car as he locks up the brakes, trying to close the gap as much as possible. 0.2 of a second between the two. We've seen Colin's not as quick through the S's, but keeps it very tidy. Right under the rear wing, but runs wide onto the grass. Keeps it in the straight line. Hasn't lost a lot of pace. But is that enough breathing space for Matt Daly? Will they have traffic to contend with? I think Finley Swarbrick is far enough ahead that won't affect the result. As they come out, Bobby chicane. One more corner to go. Fast right-hander of Camp Corner. Both tidily done. Matt Daly takes the win ahead of Colin Knief in second place. Andrew Whitehead there just getting around Stephen Knight to take third. Stephen Knight, with 2 laps down, will be in 12th. Andrew Cracker, 30 seconds behind the leader, will take 4th position. Alan Matthews just a couple of seconds behind him in 5th. Finney Swarbrick just coming through Tower Corner. Will most likely take 6th position. So well done to him. And the rest of the group being a lap down. Paul Millman's 7th, Greg Young in 8th, Rob Whitney in 9th, Ghost Warwick in 10th, Carl Alden in 11th, Stephen Knight in 12th, and Paul Plant in 13th position. So already shows you, already sets the tone for the upcoming season, how hotly contested it's going to be between the drivers in front of us. Andrew Whitehead, I think, probably would have been in that battle if he'd qualified a little bit better, perhaps. Great shame Paul Plant was struggling so much with the conditions. Very good race from Paul Millman and Carl Alden on their inaugural races. But yes, 0.2 of a second from the entirety way around on the lead lap. So yes, very, very hotly contested. Very, very well done to Matt Daly for the race win. So we will again have the server reset. It will be a reverse grid for race 2. So we'll see you in a moment. Welcome back to race 2 of the 2021 Auto Italia British Giulietta TCR Championship. It is a complete reverse grid from race 1. So on the front row we have Paul Plant and Stephen Knight. On row 2 is Carl Alden and someone still left to, I think that's Guy Swarbrick maybe, who we still have to load in. On row 3 is Rob Whitney and Greg Young. Row 4 is Paul Millman and Benny Swarbrick. Row 5, Alan Matthews and Andrew Cracker. Row 6 is Andrew Whitehead and Colin Knief. And at the back is Matt Daly, but I'm sure it won't be too long for Matt and Colin to run their way up through the order. So yes, so just Guy Swarbrick, I think, to load into the server with just under roughly a minute until we get going. So yes, today being a double header for the event. Some of the events will also run a triple header through the season with partial reverse grids for those rounds. So I guess we've seen how how much of a narrow circuit it is for the drivers coming into, again, only really a couple of ideal braking zones to try and make a manoeuvre on the guy in front. But we shall see how that affects race 2 as we see 6 lights on the gantry. Unfortunately, we still have one person missing from the grid. 6 lights appear. They go out and we are away racing as we have someone just loading in stationary on the grid, unfortunately, but they are away. Paul Plant with an excellent start. Colin Knief with a fantastic start. Looks like he's quite far up, but there's contact in the middle. We have, I think, someone spinning and hitting the barriers. There's a few people off at the circuit, 3 wide into the Avon Rise. Didn't go too well for a few people. And who are the casualties that we have? Guy Swarbrick has indeed got going. Fenley Swarbrick, unfortunately, stationary after hitting the barrier. Paul Millman just trying to return. Andrew Whitehead was stationary. Not sure what really happened. There's again more contact between Stephen Knight, and I think that was, not sure who that was, Alan Matthews, unfortunately. But where Colin Knief up into 4th already, Matt Daly up into 6th. So again, all happening in the first few corners, but again, great shame for our for the incident going into the Avon Rise. Who is it that was actually spinning off the track? I think Paul Millman had a rather big shunt. Paul Plant getting away at the front of the grid. Now up on his own. Greg Young looks like he is getting passed by, beg your pardon, Greg Young up into 2nd. Rob Whitney running a bit slow, falling down the order a bit. Matt Daly and Alan Matthews are side by side. Paul Plant running off the circuit. Unfortunately, can he get back on? He can indeed. Will he be able to get back up to speed enough? There's also contact in the middle behind him at the S's, and there's a few people off at the circuit. One of them, I think, being Colin Knief, who's been caught up in that, is back down into 9th position. Dear, oh dear, they're all getting a bit tangled up in each other now at the reverse grid of the second race. It shows you how much of a narrow circuit it is. They can't get around each other cleanly enough, as we see a few people running wide. Alan Matthews running wide, coming out of Bobby's. That's means he's going to be a bit slower. Carl Alden trying to get the run in him. Matt Daly has planned out very well for him as Rob Whitney moves out the way of him actually to let him through. So Rob Whitney possibly a problem with his car as well. Colin Knief has recovered himself back up into 8th now. Paul Plant still in the lead. Andrew Cracker up into 5th, getting past Rob Whitney again. Rob Whitney struggling now all the way back down into 6th and going quite a bit slow. Stephen Knight looks like he will be getting past him as well. Matt Daly up into 4th now from the back of the grid, getting past Carl Alden. But Paul Plant doing his best to hang on to his position. Currently up here 6 seconds ahead of Alan Matthews. Against Stephen Knight getting past Rob Whitney as well. So Rob Whitney just kept falling down the order. Again, Colin Keneath getting past him as well. So not too sure what was happening with poor old Rob Whitney now. Fastest lap set by Paul Plant, trying to get away as much as he can. Colin Keneath, I think, on the back of Stephen Knight now. Up beside him as they go through the Avon Rise. Colin Keneath up at the outside. There's many changes. Andrew Cracker side by side with Carl. Carl losing out on that one. Andrew now up into 4th. Colin Keneath did get his manoeuvre completed on Stephen Knight. Rob Whitney trying to recover as much as he can. Colin Keneath running wide, uncharacteristically at the S's. But managing to maintain his pace, I think. So Stephen Knight will try and look up the inside. It doesn't look like he'll get a chance at a manoeuvre. Again, running a bit deep through Old Paddock Bend. I think trying to defend from a few of the cars behind him now. Rob Whitney again seems to have found his pace now, trying to defend from Greg Young. At the front of the grid, lap 4 now for Paul Plant. After leading from the front 7 seconds ahead of Alan Matthews, who is under pressure from Matt Daly. So I think as Paul Plant will be hoping Alan Matthews, he may not know at the time, but I think the longer Alan Matthews delays the advance of Matt Daly, then Matt can't quite get up to speed and chase down Paul Plant ahead of him. But it's unfortunately not a matter of if but when Matt Daly can get past Alan Matthews. He's looking around for an opening as much as he can, and he does find one very late at the old Tower Corner, but cuts in behind Alan Matthews at Bobby's. There's again more contact bits, cars spinning as we see Guy Swarbrick cutting across the front of Stephen Knight. Not sure what happened there. Paul Millman catching the back of Stephen Knight's car as well. So not too sure what happened there. Guy sort of looks like he lost control a little bit, but whether that was from initial contact with Stephen Knight, not too sure. But not a great performance from the rest of them. Colin Keneath getting past Carl Olin up into 6th. It's a very unfortunate incident there from the guys at the back. Andrew Whitehead back in 12th. Not too sure. I thought he was a little bit higher than that. Oh no, he did. No, from the incident at the beginning of the race. It looks like he's repaired his car, so he must have taken to the pit road to repair the damage. Paul Plant now 6.7 seconds ahead of Alan Matthews, still defending his second place from Matt Daly. So Matt Daly not able to find a way around him yet, but looks like he's carrying a bit more speed through Folly. Can he get up the inside of the braking zone in Gorey Corner? He is very close and looking as much as he can. They find their braking zone. Gap closed down. Alan Matthews taking to the inside of the corner. Alan Matthews moving to the inside of the circuit, defending as much as he can. Can he get a clean exit? He can, but Matt Daly is still there hunting that second place. So all the while, this is helping Paul Plant, who seems to have found his rhythm now, thankfully, get away as much as he can. Further down the field, Andrew Cracker trying to catch up to the battle for second as much as he can. Colin Keneath also will be doing the same. No, he's back in clear air and can get on his pace that he's used to. Although I'm not sure how much of the damage will be affecting his performance. Cole Alden back in 6th. Paul Millman running wide at Bobby's and letting Stephen Knight and Guy Swarbrick through. So I believe that was an isolated incident on his own. He just rejoins at that particular point in the track. Both cars running across the inside, curbing. But Matt Daly has indeed managed to get the manoeuvre done very quickly. So whether Alan Matthews had slowed up quite considerably, but Alan Matthews will be under pressure from Andrew Cracker fairly soon. By the looks of it, if he can't get back onto his normal pace. But Matt Daly has got past Alan Matthews. So we'll be currently now with just over 16 minutes left in the race. 11.5 seconds to make up on Paul Plant, who is on lap 8. Just coming through Quarry Corner. So 11 seconds sounds like a lot, but not when Matt Daly has the pace that he has. We also see Colin Knief running a bit wide there through Quarries as well. Paul Millman did just not too short. That's a bit of a strange place for Guy Swarbrick to end up, backwards in the barrier at the entrance to pit road. So not too sure what happened there, whether that was contact with Millman, who was running wide, or not, but that has allowed Andrew Whitehead up into 11th. Guy Swarbrick does indeed get going again back on the circuit. Greg Young has got past Carl Alden, who again looks like he was running very slow. Gap 11.3, beg your pardon, 11.2 seconds now, ever decreasing between Paul Plant and Matt Daly. Guy Swarbrick again off the road on the exit of the S's, and I suspect that will be to retire to pit road, which would be a great shame. There was a battle just coming through the S's between Andrew Cracker and Alan Matthews for third, so Alan Matthews maintaining the gap ahead of Andrew Cracker very well. The gap just over 10 seconds now between Paul Plant and Matt Daly, as we see Paul Plant coming up to the Avon Rise. Matt Daly just coming across the start finish line. Personal best time from Matt Daly as well. As you see, Guy Swarbrick actually exiting from the pits as well, just having the damage repaired to his car. So good to see him continue, albeit 2 laps down now by the looks of it. Guy Swarbrick up just behind Millman here for 10th position. Millman, I think, with damage to his car, but Andrew, having had his repaired, will have a bit more better performance. He takes to the inside. Millman defending hard, almost forcing Whitehead onto the grass there. Millman determined not to let him past, but they do have to contend with the slightly slower pace of Stephen Knight. And Andrew Whitehead does indeed very quickly get past Millman. Can he get past Stephen Knight as cleanly? Tucks in behind him on the exit of Quarry Corner. Well, you have to wait until after the S's. He doesn't. He makes contact with the back of Stephen Knight's car into the braking zone, unfortunately, and loses out that position. But that the loss of Stephen Knight's pace due to that contact as well allows Millman up into 9th. So I think the braking zone, Stephen Knight's braking zone, caught out Andrew Whitehead's. I think the AM class being denoted by the cross on the back of the car. So I think Stephen Knight's AM status. That's the downfall of Andrew Whitehead there, but Andrew does indeed get past on the inside of the camp corner. And now we'll be looking to hunt down that 9th position again. The gap has decreased between Alan Matthews and Andrew Cracker. Andrew Cracker again looking up to the inside. Alan Matthews not quite defending, but doesn't need to, as he knows he's not close enough. As Alan isn't close enough to make a manoeuvre quite yet. The gap between first and second now down to 8.3 seconds between Paul Plant and Matt Daly, as Paul Plant guns very wide going through the S's. We've seen that's a weak point of his through the entirety of the first race, and it shows again. Shows his ugly head through the second race. But he will also have to contend, as we see Andrew Cracker running wide through the grass onto off the track as well, allowing Colin Keneath and Alan Matthews through. So it looks like he got the manoeuvre done coming into the braking zone, yeses, but ran wide onto the grass. As we also see there was a change at the back, and I think that was Andrew Whitehead getting past Stephen Knight, was it? As indeed the leader comes past up behind Stephen Knight as well. Can he get a clean manoeuvre past him? He can. Stephen Knight moves out the way very quickly for him. But that did affect Paul Plant's pace a little bit. He did have to slow up quite considerably. The gap between first and second now 6.7 seconds. Paul Plant using all the road that he can to try and keep his pace up. Andrew Whitehead having a bit of a running wide again. Colin Keneath is challenging third place off Alan Matthews. Gets up the inside coming through quarries and gets the manoeuvre done. Now takes the middle of the circuit to defend, coming into S's as well. A lot of movement happening through this race. Andrew Whitehead now a lap down as Paul Plant gets alongside him. Andrew Whitehead rejoining after that slip off at the S as well. So the braking zone of S is causing quite a lot of problems for a few drivers, including the leader of the race at the moment. But Paul Plant again in clear air by the looks of it. Fair distance to go before he hits the back of Rob Whitney's car. Metaphorically hits, beg your pardon. But Matt Daly has also got to contend with the same traffic ahead of him now. So the gap 6.7 seconds between first and second. So closing the gap as much as he can. The blue flags will be in Stephen Knight's face as he does get around him. Guy Swarbrick just running through the lap 14. Paul Plant running in first. Matt Daly 6.8 seconds behind him. Colin Keneath now up into third place. The best as position as he could have hoped for, considering the contact on the first few laps of the race. Alan Matthews now up down into fourth, beg your pardon. Managing to hang on to that after being challenged by Andrew Cracker and Colin Keneath, but couldn't hold out against the quicker driver in the end. Andrew Cracker also looks like to be closing the gap to Alan Matthews, so there may still be a battle for fourth yet. Greg Young in sixth. Currently maintaining the gap to Carl Alden in seventh. Whitney back in eighth. Andrew Whitehead now up into ninth. Running particularly close to Paul Plant, I would have said, for... I think looks... Andrew Whitehead may be looking to try and unlap himself from the position that he's in. Because I believe after Andrew slipped, Paul Plant had already got past him a couple of laps prior. But this is not what Paul Plant wants, because that's going to be distracting him from trying to maintain the gap. The gap now down to 5.4 seconds. So either Paul Plant had a bit of a slip up on the race. Paul Plant, Stephen Knight now just rolling back down the start-finish straight. not the best way, unfortunately, to try and turn the car around, and hits. I'm not sure what car he hit. A very strange incident, the S's between Andrew Whitehead and Paul Plant, so whether the leader was tagged at the back end by Andrew Whitehead, not sure. But the gap now down to 2.5 seconds from now under 2 seconds. Matt Daly now hunting down Paul Plant ahead of him. Not able to maintain that gap. 6 minutes, beg your pardon, to go on the before the end of the race. But Paul Plant not able to maintain that gap, and that is he does now have Matt Daly breathing down his neck as Matt runs a little bit wide coming out of Bobby's chicane. So again, strange incidents this evening in race 2 all throughout the grid, as I'm sure a lot of winter frustration is now being unleashed with no races happening. So the gap now just over a second between Paul Plant and Matt Daly. Matt Daly stronger under the brakes going into Quarry's corner. Unfortunately, at this stage, it seems not a matter of if but when Matt Daly can get round Paul Plant. Paul Plant not showing his true strength through this evening's race. Get now down to 0.7. Craig Young. Who's that? Andrew Cracker stationary on the last corner, just as he rejoins, but that won't affect the leaders. Andrew Cracker, big pun, just also taken to pit road. Paul Plant with damage on his car as well from making contact with the barriers. 0.5 of a second now between the two leaders, the two front runners of the race, as we just tick over 5 minutes on the of the race remaining. Andrew Cracker again falling down the order as he takes to the pits. Matt Daly closing the gap even further on the brakes into Quarry corner. Paul Plant gets a clean exit, trying to maintain his line as much as possible. Will have to start defending hard from the quicker yellow car as he runs a little bit squirmy through the S's. Arguably loses a little bit of pace. Matt Daly lets him know he's there. Looks down the inside of the outside, beg your pardon, of Hammer Down, but doesn't get the manoeuvre done. Just waiting for his opportunity. Paul Plant, as we see, bouncing the car over the curves. That will lose him some pace. Matt Daly got a cleaner line. Paul Plant moving to the inside to try and defend as they turn through Tower Corner down the start finish straight. Paul Plant still leading the race on lap 19 with 4 minutes to go. As we see, Matt Daly looking down the inside of Avon Rise, almost diving under braking, but I think a little bit of stutter there from the netcode, I think. Doesn't decide to go for the move, but Paul Plant defending, spots the correct braking zone, gets a clean line through the S's and continues out in front of Matt Daly. But runs a little bit wide onto the grass. That will lose him some pace, but he continues on. Matt Daly biding his time. Keeps the pressure on the back of the blue Bianco car in front of him. Very close now in the slipstream. Matt Daly closing the gap to the car in front. Doesn't look to get a manoeuvre done. In Camp Corner, will he get it done under braking into Quarry? Does not. I think he's just resetting his position, resetting his pace a little bit to make a clean manoeuvre as he can onto the start finish straight. Paul Plant running very wide, the car getting very squirmy. He's lost a lot of pace coming out of the S's. They both run wide onto the grass. Matt Daly again cutting the corner, trying to get up beside him. They are both up beside each other, side by side coming through Old Paddock, beg pardon, Hammer Down into Bobby Chicane. Matt Daly just cutting in behind Paul Plant. I think both allowing Andrew Whitehead still just keeping in touch with them, although he's a lap down. Looks like Andrew Cracker's got past Paul Millman with just over a minute and a half left on the race remaining. Not many more chances for Matt Daly to get that top spot on the podium, as we have a rejoining car. Stephen Knight just taking straight to the not too sure on that rejoin personally, as he takes straight to the racing line with quicker cars coming past him, two of which being the leaders, but they managed to get out of the way just in time, as they have now traffic ahead of them of I believe that's Alan Matthews, I think. No, it is not. No, that was Rob Whitney they have in front of them. But he wisely moves out of the way. But Matt Daly has spotted his opportunity going out of the Westway corner, side by side. Gets the run on him. And Paul Blunt's on the outside and has to tuck in behind Matt Daly coming through Camp Corner. And he gets the job done for first position. But there's, I think, a little bit of stuttering between the cars. Paul Plant getting the slipstream, gets up the inside of Avon Rise. They both spot their braking zone for Quarry Corner. Matt Daly running very deep into the corner, runs to the outside. Paul Blunt getting a better line, retakes first place, goes to defend on the braking zone into the S's. Again, a little bit of a netcode issue from Matt Daly's car, and he lost a lot of pace coming through the middle of the S's corner. And the gap has now opened up quite considerably between the two. So could that be the end of the challenge from Matt Daly? This is the penultimate lap. We still have one more lap to go. Matt Daly looks to be having to be defending from Andrew Whitehead. And Matt Daly has had to let Andrew Whitehead through. So I think whatever's plaguing Matt Daly's car, it does seem to be stuttering about on the circuit a little bit, so there could be connection issues, and he's decided to call time on his challenge of first place, as he can't get it cleanly done. But Andrew Whitehead has managed to get past him, but doesn't improve on his position, being a lap down behind the leader. Paul Plant now has to contend with more traffic in front of him of... I'm not sure who that is, actually. Carl Alden, beg your pardon, of... but Paul Plant does indeed get past him, and Andrew Whitehead will look to do the same. But as we come round the final corner, Paul Plant takes the win for race 2 at Castle Combe Circuit. Matt Daly comes home in second place. Colin Knief, a fantastic third place from him. Alan Matthews now also coming across the line for a well-deserved fourth place. Greg Young, largely on his own, I think, throughout the most of the race, will finish up in 5th, just coming through Bobby's corner. Guy Swarbrick in front of him, who will take 12th. So Greg Young in 5th, and then due to them being a lap down, Carl Alden in 6th, Andrew Whitehead in 7th, Rob Whitney in 8th, Andrew Cracker in 9th, Paul Millman 10th, Stephen Knight in 11th, and Guy Swarbrick in 12th. So well done to Paul Plant for the win in race 2, and Matt Daly for the win in race 1, I believe, if I haven't forgotten what it was. So very well done to them both. A few little instances I think that the stewards will want to look at through on the final results. If I may say so, slightly dodgy rejoins from some of the guys at the back, but largely not affecting the results for the overall race. Yeah, it looks like there was a bit of, I didn't actually realise, but we I think lost Finley Swarbrick, I think, for race 2. And yeah, great shame that whatever seemed to have plagued Matt Daly on the final lap meant he couldn't re-challenge for the lead, but managed, closed down, over a 10-second gap to the leader. So it's quite an incredible pace that he's got. He'll be, I'm sure, contending for the championships throughout the season. And yes, I'm sure Paul Plant will be very happy with that result after struggling a little bit in race 1, coming off the track a few times and managed to find his pace. So fantastic work for him for doing that great effort. So that ends this evening's event. The next event for so the next event, or the next round, is scheduled for the 28th. That will be at Anglesey Circuit. That will be a triple header race, so I hope to see you there. Obviously this will also be rewatchable on the AROC or the Alfa Romeo Owners Club UK YouTube channel as well, for you to rewatch it and look back on the pace. Wherever you watch it, leave comments, see what was your best bit, what you think the driver of the day was. Something we might start. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you had a good evening, and yeah, shall see you all for the next one.